join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Misty, I'd ask if you call the roll, please.
Arlene Kane.
Here.
Ray Akapee.
Here.
Bill Wickens.
Here.
Mark Meyer.
Here.
Bob Nelson.
Here.
Sam Powers.
Here.
Ron Richards.
Here.
Allison Ritterbusch. Here. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And again, I remind all council persons, if there is an item on the agenda that you do have a conflict of interest, please notify the entire council prior to voting. You have before you a minutes from the May 6th meeting. I want to correct an administrative error. I would ask for a motion to have the minutes approved as corrected. Under personnel, the second to that motion was made by Allison Ritterbusch. With that correction, I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the May 6th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 6th council meeting as amended with the second of Allison Ritterbusch.
Second.
Personnel.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the May 6th meeting. Are there any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have in your packages bills in between for $157,558.93. I'd ask for a motion to approve those bills in between.
I'll make a motion to approve bills in between for $157,558.93.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the bills in between. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have current claims in your packages for $66,811.12. I'd ask for a motion to approve those current claims.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the current claims for $66,811.12.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the current claims. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Current claims are approved. Next item on our agenda is a Drinking Water Excellence Award. I'd ask that our Public Works Engineer, Tracy Bastian, please come forward at this time. Let's go ahead and step out there. It's nice to get a letter from the State Department of Environment and Natural Resources that begins by saying congratulations. And for the 16th consecutive year, thanks Tracy to you and the people that work for you and with you in our water and wastewater departments. We've been the 16th year of having safe drinking water. And that's something that as a community we just automatically take for granted, but I know you know there's a lot of things that go behind that, from fixing water leaks that just happen to pop up every once in a while to making sure that those tests are accomplished and documented as they're prescribed to by law, and ensuring that the pumps are working, the tanks are keeping full. We appreciate all the hard work, and I wanted to publicly recognize you and the folks that made that happen. And I want to read the names of the individuals here, if I can find it. We've got our system operational specialists are Cole Richards, Sean Heil, Mike Parmley, Gordon Wempen, Tad Harder, Pete Miles, and of course you, Tracy, who watch over that reporting and so forth. So again, let me put this down. And we'll make this presentation official. And do you have any words that you'd like to say?
Well, not a whole lot, but we're proud to be able to accomplish this, keep doing this, and we take a lot of pride in our water system. We have some of the best water around. I mean, that's kind of a biased opinion, but it really is. And we're proud of our system. We're always working to improve it and make it very viable and durable. And I appreciate all the guys that work under me. They're all a really good crew, and we just really work together well. So thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Tracy, and again, congratulations. Again, we sure congratulate all the folks. Our next item on the agenda is communications from the public, and I'm told that Amanda, you're here for the library?
Please excuse my voice. I wanted to come in today. On your agenda today, you're going to be looking at approving the acceptance of a grant that we've now gotten. This is the second year in a row. The Dollar General Literacy Foundation is kind enough to award this. This year, 3 libraries in the state of South Dakota were able to do this. And it's a total of $2,000 towards our children's summer reading program. And I don't have to tell all you guys this, but $2,000 goes a long way. Along with this $2,000, we also received another grant, the Stephanie Miller Davis grant, that you guys were all kind enough to allow us to accept before. We just really wanted to stop in tonight and say thank you. Without the city behind us, without the boss that I love and work for, without the Friends of the Library and all of these grants, and our local donations, many businesses in town donate items, money, time. We couldn't do this. In the 3 years this will be that I have been at the library, my first year we had about 180 people sign up for summer reading. We already have more than that signed up today. So we had almost 800 participants last year. We're hoping to hit 1,000. That's my goal this year. We have, and all of you will join us, the planetarium from the Journey Museum, thanks to this grant funding, is going to be bringing down a geodome, and they will be doing planetarium shows here, thanks to Chris at the Mueller Center in the gym on June 4th. And they will be in there from 1 until 5:30 doing shows. And I will tell you, I'm a kid at heart. I always will be. I love my job. But it's amazing. It's educational. And I truly believe, as someone who grew up here, that we're small town kids, and that's wonderful. But we deserve, and these kids deserve, a great big experience from us. And we just really wanted to stop in and say thank you for allowing us to do that for these kids. You guys let me have Brenda this year, so we will be participating in the fly-in. That's going to be our first of 45 programs in less than a month. We are having 11 classes a week because they get so full. I've had to open up more classes. So I'm just really excited. But without Brenda, I don't think I could pull out 45 all by myself. But The girls at the library are wonderful. The National Honor Society sends me volunteers, and I've got other volunteers that come in as well. But we just really wanted to say thank you and make sure everybody knows the chamber is participating in the moonwalk downtown. Come, all the kids are going to be dressed up. We're going to have them walking around looking for facts about the moon, fictions about the moon, making sure we're not just sitting in our bubble at the library, but getting out and participating and promoting our town that we love. We couldn't do what we do without you guys and without everybody that comes. But I can honestly say I love my job and I have a passion for these kids. And we just really, we thank you so much. And if you guys ever have questions, please stop in or come talk to some of the kids. They have so much fun and they love to tell all the adults everything they've learned, things that they've done, the breakout boxes that are like escape rooms. They really like to rub it in when they break in and you don't. Kids like to point that out. But no, we have a lot of fun, and I just really wanted to stop in and thank you guys as the children's librarian and as a citizen in Hot Springs just in general. We do a lot up there, but we couldn't do it without you guys and the support from the friends, the grants, all of the local businesses.
Well, thank you, Amanda, and I'm sure the council will look favorably on accepting money. But is it true that you all are going to try to send someone to the moon this summer?
Well, you know, we talked about it. Dawn has this portal that she uses in her office to disappear every time I'm looking for her. And I asked her if that went to the moon, and she said she wasn't sure.
Okay.
But we can always try.
Well, we appreciate, and I guarantee that that summer program will be successful largely because of the enthusiasm that you've displayed here tonight. So
I certainly hope so. These kids deserve it more than anything, so.
thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm also told that Barb Walters, you have something to share with the council.
I'm Barbara Walter from Jennings Avenue in Hot Springs. I also am here to say thank you. Friday, I started crying.
Anything issues, I'm sorry. Okay.
Friday afternoon and evening, the Gibson girls was here from Jerseyville, Illinois, which is, for those of you that don't know where that is, they told me it's down near St. Louis. Well, I want to thank the residents of Hot Springs, my American Legion family, Fall River County residents, the veterans, the residents of Pine Hills, the Seven Sisters, the veterans that came from Chadron, that heard about it through the Chamber Vacation Guide. And I'd also like to especially thank those that financially sponsored for their travel expenses. The concerts were free. The only thing that I had to get sponsorship for was 2 nights lodging and gas money. The town stepped up and sponsored attractions as well as food. So I want to give you an estimate of attendance. There were other things going on this night, but between the 2 concerts, we had over 176 out there, and they went home with $1,100.04. So they're back home safely. They've never been to South Dakota. While they were up in Rapid, coming down here, they went to Crazy Horse and the Badlands, and they got down here early. And so I said, well, did you go to Crazy Horse? And they said, no, we just came on down. And I said, well, we'll go have, I had their lunch or supper and all that stuff scheduled. and the other meals, they could go whenever they wanted. And I said, well, we'll go to Crazy Horse. They'd never been to Crazy Horse. But while they were in the Badlands and up in the Black Hills, they did a video of Take Me Back to South Dakota. So I saw it before the concerts. So they ended up singing. I asked them, I said, you have to sing that song, the last one. And they said, oh, yeah, we can do that. So they did. Well, there wasn't a dry eye in the place at the stay home, and not too many dry eyes last night at the Friday night at the meeting. So I just want to thank everyone, because without you guys, I could not have accomplished what we accomplished. So thank you to everybody.
Well, thank you too, Barb, for all you do for our community and for making things like this happen. We appreciate
They're going to
it.
be back.
Okay,
They're
great.
gonna be back.
Great.
Thank you, Mark.
Are there any other communications from the public?
Hi, my name is Calvin Griswold.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Calvin Griswold. I'm from Hill City, and we have a blue vacation place, a rental place up there. I don't know about Hot Springs a lot, but we try to push it because we feel like we know that your town has some issues trying to stay alive and well. And, I came down with my kids on April 6th, and I brought them with me today. I have 3 of them. I have a 7-year-old girl, 6-year-old boy, and a 4-year-old to a soccer game. And what I'm going to tell you is just for your own information, and I don't expect you can do what you want with it, but when we left the park, it's that where the soccer field is. When we left the park, there's a stop sign there, and I didn't see it. I went through it, and I was slow. But anyhow, I got pulled over by an officer by the name of Zach Schaefer, and he told me I was stop sign. And so when he went to give me a ticket, I said, I'd like to see it. When I stepped out of the car, he told me to get back in the car and pushed me, and I mean, I'm talking aggression. And I was pinned up against the car, and he finally came towards my face, and I just brushed it to the side. And he, remember this is in front of my kids, leaving a soccer field. He pulls a taser and says, you're under arrest for assault on a police officer. My daughter says to him, please, sir, take my dad away. He didn't do anything. You pushed him. This is from a 7-year-old daughter. You guys, I can't tell you enough what a horrible experience this was. I'm 57 years old. I've never been charged with anything in my life. We don't have TV in our home. We don't let our kids watch scary movies, and this has traumatized my kids to death. And I'm really sorry to have to tell you this, but I just thought it was important for you. But really, the thing that bothers me the most, do I go to jail, tow my car away, and it just kills me. It just kills my excitement for you guys, for this town. And I'm sorry about that. It just killed everything about it. And but the thing that bothers me the most is what he wrote up in the video. So the difference between thank goodness for video, because without video, I would be convicted by what his report said. But we have video, and they are like opposites, completely separate things. We did not relate them together. And they dropped the charge. I called the city police up, and just evasive, didn't want to acknowledge anything's wrong, and state attorney basically same thing. So I wrote a letter to the police officer, to the city police, because I told him, I said, I want this on record, because this guy should not be a police officer.
when your word, when you can't have your word counted on, you should not be a police officer, in my opinion. Anyhow, so I wrote this letter, and I have copies here, if you guys would like to see them. I have copies. I have a copy of the arrest report. The video, I have my email on here and my phone number. If you email it, I will send you the video, or you get it to the police officer, police chief. But I just thought it was really important for you guys to know this, and it's been really hard on our family. My kids did not want to come down today. My daughter told me, Dad, this is burned in my mind forever. And they said, we don't want to come to Hot Springs again. And I said, well, I think it's important because we don't want this to happen to somebody else. So I really appreciate your time, you guys. I really do. And I can tell you're listening. I appreciate that a lot. And I'll leave you with a copy. And it's up to you, you guys. Whatever you want to do with it. But I think it's good for you to know this.
We'll go ahead and give the copy to our city finance officer. And I will refer this to the our safety committee, public safety committee, and as we always do when we do have a complaint against the police, we will investigate. Our police officers do carry body cameras, and that will be utilized, and if there is any corrective action that needs to be done, it will be taken. However, again, we will look at it in full detail, and if there's any communication that we need to get back to you, our public safety committee will get back.
And thank you. That's really what I want. I just want someone to put a little work into it. And see
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Vivian Bruce, was Calvin's wife. And I was home. They called me. I thought, accident? Say no. And they tell me what happened. I don't understand what happened until they go down here. My kids on the road, on the street, with no one. They towed his car away. My family couldn't sleep that night, Saturday night. I have to run all around to take the money to take him out. If he couldn't go that night, Saturday, Sunday night, we don't have that for the kids at home. And that's terrible, horrible in their minds. And with me, how they treat my family like that. You can see on the video and the report, completely different story. These were the liar. I don't like to say this, but the police, he was a liar. The total story. So I don't want to take more time, but I very, very ask, please help us to look at this case, because we want everyone to know what happened to our family, how horrible that we have to go through this. We do this because our kids, they have bad memory. They don't respect the police like before anymore. Before, we taught them everything problem, you run to the police to ask for help, but now they're scared. They don't trust them anymore. So please look at this case. Thank you.
And we will, as I mentioned, it will be referred to public safety. Are there any other communications from the public?
Mayor Cotty?
Yes.
I have a couple of questions for Kelvin. You had mentioned you have a video.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he has a question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned you have a video that came from Chief Close from the police department?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And in your letter, you have Police Chief Mike Ledholt?
Yeah, I found out it's close, right?
Yeah, I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure that
Yes.
you know it was,
I got that off the internet.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So he would have the same thing I have, but we do have it on email, so we can send it to you if you want it, you know.
Yeah, well, we've reviewed other videos, you know, along the same line as far as police misbehavior, so that's available for us to view.
Well, thank you guys.
But as the mayor said, we take all these kinds of things serious, make sure that you know, the correct things happen when there's interactions with the police department. thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Hart, and I am your state's attorney. And I don't believe Mr. Griswold's statement involving or stating that I just pretty much said there's nothing wrong is totally accurate.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Can you take the microphone out?
Yeah, we're having a little trouble hearing you, Brian, I'm sorry.
I'm Brian, I'm your state's attorney, and I didn't tell Mr. Griswold that there was nothing. We actually had a long conversation about it, and I'll say that what my office did in regards to this case, I think was totally appropriate. I'm not going to get up here and criticize the police officer. I would like I guess the kids to realize that sometimes police officers have very difficult jobs, and there are situations where people in vehicles need to listen to what the police officer states to them, follow instructions. There are a lot of cases where the police officers in our town come across people who are very dangerous. We don't know that until after the fact. And Mr. Griswold's situation was not a fun video to watch. However, I think it was handled appropriately to a certain extent, and I'm certainly willing to talk about the case with anyone that would like to come to my office and see any of these things as well. But I think it was, overall, it probably could have been handled a little bit differently, but in this situation, it's easy to be an armchair quarterback. And I'm going to commend Officer Schaefer generally for his very good police work. And I didn't really have a huge issue with it. And my office did not, of course, tell Mr. Griswold that we're just going to let it go and nothing was really wrong. But I'm willing to answer any questions about that, along with any of the officers as well. So thank you.
And Brian, we appreciate you stepping forward, and again, that's something that Bill, that we will, as a part of our looking into it, we'll get back with you. Are there any other communications from the public?
Good evening. My name is Brian Hayes.
Please talk into the mic so that everyone can hear you.
My name is Brian Baker. My wife and I bought the old Chuck Marsh residence at 805 South 11th Street. With the hopes we open the lodge. First I want to say Bob Nelson has been an outstanding person in this community to work with. He has stepped up, and can't tell you the conversations we had. I thank you for him. Long story short, you don't have all night. Mr. Morgan, who is above us, has decided to cut off access to my property. I do have a letter here from the city that says I do have a right of access to this property. Okay? So my next option would be the ham radio has a little bit of corner chunk that is on city property. In 2004, you guys granted it to them. And it is partially on the street. I'm reading the letter, I'm reading the letter from the city that you signed off on there. Nothing should restrict that access to my property. There are two things that are restricting access. One, they have a guideline pole that should be removed. Two, they have wires that are hanging down. And now Kim Barberry, I believe, sent us an email saying that the Bakers, which is us, should pay for this, to raise these wires. I'm not going to pay for them. I just paid Bob Schmonic, Steve Schmonic, $1,300 tying a road literally 15 feet from my driveway to Catholic Way, which it's supposed to be. This road doesn't even exist, council people. It doesn't even exist. Only on paper. I was told by the city that this is going to be built, this road's going to be built. I have clients coming in, my first group of clients come in this weekend. As you know, whenever VRBO signs a client around my lodge, the city gets 3% of it. Also, 10 people are coming this first time. You're going to go to the grocery store. They're going to go to your gas stations. They're going to go to our restaurants. They're going to spend money here. That's the bottom line. I'm not asking for a paved highway. Nothing like that. I would like a street put up in, like I was told was going to happen. And I understand you guys are busy. I don't imagine it happen overnight. I don't expect it. And I don't expect pavement. I do expect a gravel driveway tying into my road. So I really have Catholic Way, like it says on this paper. That's all I'm asking. And a street sign. I did go down and talk to Tracy, who left a couple weeks ago. Tracy could at least put up a temporary sign. So when I have clients coming in, I'm having a hard time getting people there. If I had a sign at least at Catholic and 11, I could give them a guideline. Say, hey, look through this. When I asked Tracy about it, he didn't think it'd be a problem. I guess he went to Kim, and Kim said, put that on the back burner. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. We came here to this town. We spent a lot of money, with the hopes that we could open a lodge, bring money to this community, and have people come see it. It's a beautiful community. But I got to be 100% honest. My wife and I feel like we've almost made a mistake. It seems like we're mushrooms, for a better word. We're left in the dark. We're dead. Like I say, the only communication I have is with Bob. The mayor did come out, went to my land for 15 minutes. His response is to get a lawyer. I should not have to get a lawyer. This is a road. This is a sign sent from them saying that I do have access to my property. I agree with it, but where's the access? There isn't. So the gentleman, Morgan, has given me 8 months to cease and desist, and we're not really sure if that's clear. The attorney, who I guess is our city attorney, won't return phone calls. I have a simple question to ask him. Do I have 8 months? The letter states I have 8 months to build a road and cease and desist. Well, what does that mean? Cease and desist now or 8 months from now? So I've been told by the city that we're going to go along with the assumption saying that we can use that road for 8 months. Well, that's fine. If Mr. Morgan comes back and decides he wants to put a fence up.
Brian, what's your request tonight?
I'm requesting, I just feel like there's no communication, sir, with me, except through Bob.
There it is. This is being worked in Public Works. It's an ongoing issue, and it is being worked.
Then call him up
And,
then let me know. An email, a phone call, Mr. Baker, and then the wires. That's another thing.
I believe that Mr. Nelson has been in communication with you. He's the chairman of our Public Works Committee,
Sure, yeah.
and we're not going to be able to solve your issues here tonight.
I'm not asking.
And that is being worked, and I guarantee you we'll come to a resolution.
I understand.
Bob, do you have any
Appreciate it.
thing to add?
Bob, let me finish though, sir. He was at my house the other day, and it was a good meeting we had. But the city still believes that the Bakers, us, are going to be responsible for raising these wires over a city road, Catholic Way, that's here. They think I'm paying to raise it. Kim just sends out an email to the ham operators. That's what really got me. Sent a letter to these guys saying, you should have to pay that, the Bakers should. That ain't right, man. That ain't right. I'm bringing money to the city, and you're telling me I spend more money? It's not right. I'm sorry, guys. Thanks for your time. Bob, thank you for what you did.
Brian,
Yeah.
do you have time to wait till we get to the actual committee reports? I'm giving a Public Works Committee report tonight, and your situation is on that. So I can explain more fully that as part of my normal report. Do you have time to?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other communications from the public?
I have one more question. I'm going to go back to Mr. Griswold. Can you tell me real quick what happened with the kids? Since it's not going to be on the body cam, I'm just wondering what the process was there.
Could you come to the microphone, please, so it gets picked up by the camera? Thank you, Mr. Griswold.
Don't let me forget, I want to tell you something really nice that did happen. So when they put me in the car, he came out to me and said, who's going to get your kids? And I, so so I said, well, I don't really know right now because my wife is at home, you know, it's a long ways away. I was hoping somehow it was just going to work out, you know, where they like, oh, okay, well, you know, how about, you know, work at some good resolution. But his commanding guy, officer came, which is Wainwright, I think, or something like that. And, man, his attitude wasn't good either. He comes in, opens the door and says to me, how you doing? I'm like, good, you know. And he's like, so you need to call somebody, or in 30, you got 30 seconds, we're busy. And so then I'm thinking a little bit, and he says, now you got 10 seconds. And I just thought to myself, well, wow, no wonder this other guy's acting like he is too. But anyhow, bottom line, then while I'm in back, a lady officer does come. She was the first one. You know, I'm old enough, you can kind of tell demeanor. She was very sweet with my kids. I was very happy to see her come, because the other two, you could tell was a duty. And they're just acting like they care. But this lady, I don't know what her name was, but I do want to, and I actually wrote it in a letter at the very back. At the very end, I said, the bright spot was this lady showed care towards my kids. So, basically, you know, it was a lot of work. We had, but if you know Miranda Nelson, we happen to be friends with her. And Bea was able to call her, and she came over and got her kids. And then they actually helped us come up with the $500 too. And and then another thing is that to the tow truck company, I was really appreciative of them too, because I called him up. He's like, well, normally this is a Saturday. Normally, you know, we're closed, but he says I don't want to put you in a bind. And so he met me. And so those are two things that I really appreciated. Was, you know, those two people were. I just thought they went, you know, looked out, tried to help me. I guess that's what it is.
So your kids stayed in the vehicle as they kind of maneuvered all of that, and then you had the female officer come in who engaged with them while you made the calls to figure out who was coming, and she waited with them until...
As far as I know I got taken away.
You were taken away and the kids were left there with the officer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You know, one thing is that really bothered me is, like I told the police chief, you know, if I was a police officer, I would do everything I could not to take a dad away from his kids. I would do everything I could. And it just, to me, this guy had no regard at all for my kids. None about their welfare.
And again, we will be looking into it.
Yeah, and so thank you guys, really. Thank you. This is the first time that I felt like you guys, somebody was going to really look at it and try to, you know, do the right thing. That's what I want. I just want the right thing, you know? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And there will be a report to the council from the Public Safety Committee once determination is made. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'm Lauren Ziegers. The issue on Catholican Avenue affects my son and I because we live on Fresno, and we use the rear access to our property up there, and with the stipulations he got on not being able to drive on that or cease and desist, it makes it really difficult for us to get into the backside of our property. And we park trailers on our property back there and stuff, need them occasionally. Not only that,
again, this was, if you could come to public safety, Mr. Nelson is the chairman, and this whole issue is being worked. We're not going to be able to solve that tonight, but I appreciate your input that you're also affected.
Right.
And so Mr. Nelson will be getting in touch with you and getting those details, and if you can make it to a public safety meeting, we would appreciate it.
We've been...
Or public works meeting, excuse me. I'm kind of crosswise here. Bill and Bob.
One other small issue, when they made Fresno a street, they took 17 feet off of the north side of our property for easement on Fresno, and they were going to give us 17 feet back behind. And it's my understanding that it was all pretty much decided to do it, but the person the city had at the time that was working on it, he passed away before it got finished, and it never got recorded at the courthouse. And I would like to get that 17 feet if we could.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that we're aware of. We've been searching the records and can't find, any documentation, so looks like we're gonna have to start from scratch.
Right
yeah, and if you could get that to our public safety, we can start working that. We'll have to get that replatted and ensure that it's legally sufficient.
All righty, thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other communications from the public? Hearing none, we'll move on.
Mayor Crowdy?
Yes.
I'd like to read a letter if I could during this time.
Go ahead.
Okay. To the people of Hot Springs, firstly, I'd like to clear the air. I seem to have given the wrong impression to my fellow members of the city government and to members of the police department in a recent communication with the chief of police. I'm not here to accuse, spread rumors, or discredit our police department. I believe that the police department of Hot Springs is one of the better ones in the state. The police department here is efficient. They get results as proven by the recent drug busts in the city. I have great respect and admiration for our police officers, and I don't want to give the impression that my following statements were coming from any other place. But there are some issues that have been brought to my attention by multiple members of the public, and I felt I would be neglecting my elected duty to ignore these issues. The main topic I wanted to get at with this letter is appearances. More specifically, I wanted to speak about the vehicles used by the police department. As many of you may be aware, the Hot Springs Police Department is transitioning to low-contrast black-on-black markings for police vehicles. It is my understanding that this decision was made with officer safety in mind, which is a valid concern, but in the opinions of myself and several members of the public I asked about this topic, it's not necessarily a good look. The black-on-black is aggressive, and it's not entirely obvious that the police vehicles are actually police vehicles at first glance. In my own personal opinion, these low-contrast markings are something I would associate more with a dangerous city like Los Angeles than a small town like Hot Springs, and I'm not sure that's the impression we need to be giving visitors of our beautiful town. Accountability is another issue that must be addressed. Public credibility and trust with our police departments nationwide are at an all-time low, and that is not something I want to happen to our fine city. I want to live in a world where there is no crime and no fear, and it all starts with trust. I believe that all of us in the government of Hot Springs, including the police department, are working as hard as possible to build that trust, and that's the role of the city council and the mayor, to keep our departments accountable so that we can build and maintain that all-important trust that the public places in us, the elected officials of Hot Springs. In closing, I'd just like to say thank you to the police department, and God bless our town.
Okay, that decision to go with the subdued markings has been discussed, and Bill, as chairman of public safety, can you shed some additional light on that, because I know that is somewhat of a controversial area within our community.
Yeah, in fact, we brought it up at actually a special meeting, public safety with Chief Close and Captain Wayman and Officer Schaefer, in part, Sam, based on some of your comments during the budget process last year. We have the one vehicle, a pickup, that actually has kind of a matte black on black, and there's no reflection there. And it is a very subdued vehicle. And I think our question to Chief Close and his team when we purchased the two new vehicles for this year is it going to be like that? Because that is a difficult vehicle to see. And the combination they chose is not that. It is, because that's not even reflective. So the new Charger and the new, not the pickup. Durango, sorry, Dodge fans. They are black vehicles, and it is a low contrast, but it is reflective. And the reasons are, it does provide a level of officer safety in that it may not be as obvious that it is a police vehicle as the white vehicles with the black lettering. It does allow them to move about and do patrols without the stark, yes, here I'm a police officer driving down your street, but yet in the event of an emergency, the lettering is reflective. And so the reasoning that they gave us, and we had a very lengthy discussion, they were very open and honest with us on why they had chosen the color and the lettering, and we quite frankly agree with the lettering or the contrasting colors that they chose. Yeah, it may be a little hard to see, you know, is that a cop car coming down the road? You know, if they pull in behind you and decide to pull you over, you're going to know it because the lights are on. You're not going to see the side of the car. If you can see the side of a police car that's behind you, something is terribly, terribly wrong. There may be, you know, there is a difference of opinion, but the cars are well illuminated in the event of an emergency. I think the Durango still has some additional lighting to be put on the back. In fact, we had one of the city staff commented, my gosh, how many lights are they going to put on that thing? And so, you know, for emergency purposes, there is a lot of lighting. So we're in a different world, and I wish the only thing our officers had to deal with out there were people driving 35 or 40 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. But that's not the case, and this past, just within the last 4 or 5 days, it's become extremely evident that that's not the only thing going on. There have been, I'm not going to have the numbers exactly right, but at least 4 felony drug stops, or at least 2 felony drug-related traffic stops, a couple of felony drug warrants served. So Bob, I'm going to use your term, Bob. Bob Nelson wants to live in Mayberry, and Mayberry does not exist here. We are, unfortunately, what appears to be in a fairly major drug transportation corridor. Last summer, we had a high-speed chase through town. And when the vehicle was finally stopped after 3 or 4 agencies being involved in the chase and the spike strips being used to stop, it was a stolen vehicle from another state that was loaded with drugs. So it's unfortunate that our officers have to be on high alert personally for situations, because what they're up against, they don't know everybody's background. They don't know who they're coming up against. Some people, they do know their background. And unfortunately, some of the people they deal with on a day-to-day basis, not necessarily day-to-day basis, but on a routine basis, it's not good. And it is not always safe for them out there. So if we can enhance their safety by a little more subdued color of their cars, I'm okay with that. If they can do their job a little bit better, if they can improve the safety and enhance crime reduction by patrolling a neighborhood because their vehicle is a little bit more subdued and doesn't say, cop coming, cop coming, cop coming, that's okay. If they can stop vandalism, if they can stop theft because somebody doesn't notice that a big black and white vehicle's driving down the street, that's okay. you know, the things that we tend to see, the visible things I think that the public may get are the traffic stops on the bypass in 71 or going down University. And that's kind of the simple stuff, the visible stuff, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. Our folks, it may not be LA, it may not be Chicago, but it's still, when you hear calls of home invasion, gun present, that's the kind of stuff that they're up against. And it may not be daily, but sometimes it is, or go to such and such address, threaten suicide. This stuff goes on a lot. So if an officer is maybe tuned up a little tighter than we think he ought to be, there's reason for that. And so if they can do their job a little bit better because of car markings, or if they can be a little safer because of car markings, we need to support that. And I personally support that, and we as a public safety committee supported that. So I appreciated the level of thought and consideration and willingness to discuss the issue that Chief Close and his team provided when we challenged him with that. Because we had a concern about it, but they sold us on it. The fact that they had done their homework and they had good, sound police science reasoning to do what they did, so we as a committee to this council supported them in that, and quite frankly, I still support them in that.
Thank you.
Maybe more than you asked for, but that's what you got.
No, I appreciate the thoroughness because the subject was discussed in a great deal of thoroughness. And a reminder to the council and to you also, Sam, if there is an issue and you hear rumors and innuendos that things in any one of our departments within the city are going on, I would encourage you to get names, numbers, facts, so that we can delve into the situation. We've looked at several police videos that accusations have been made against, for example, our police officers, and we found out there are very definitely two sides of the story. And the police cameras, body cams, and car cams do not lie. They are actual documentation of what actually happened. So we'd appreciate details if there are any innuendos of wrongdoing on part of our police or any city employees, and I would encourage the council to gather those facts so that we can investigate those thoroughly.
Mayor Connie?
Yes.
At the risk of extending this another hour, I would like the opportunity to respond to Sam. As Bill just referred to, when we met with the police department, over the markings on the current cars, my hope is that we could go a different direction than we did initially at the beginning of the meeting. When the first pickup that Officer Schaefer's now driving, when we got that, I raised the same concern about why can't we have contrasting markings on it. Obviously, it went a different direction. As the recent meeting went on, and the officers were explaining why they felt that the subdued markings were the better way to go. Two sides to the argument. We don't want people to know we're around, so we can catch as many people doing things wrong as we can. The idealist in me says, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to worry about getting caught. So if you're doing something wrong and you get caught by an unmarked car, well, we're doing something wrong. Another thing that they pointed out was, unfortunately, as Bill says, yes, I want to live in Mayberry, or as close as we can get to Mayberry. And when they talked about the safety of the officers, it suddenly hit me that Mayberry doesn't exist anymore, and I mentioned that last year. We've all seen police or news reports of officers being shot in their vehicles. They were targeted. They were assassinated. So, pardon me for highlighting that, but San Antonio police officer fatally shot in the head of police car near headquarters, November 20, 2016. New York Police Department officer was fatally shot in a police vehicle in an unprovoked attack, July 5, 2017. Officer shot in a vehicle at a police station in Missouri, December 5, 2017. Off-duty Chicago police officer shot, killed sitting in a vehicle, March 23, 2019. Now, Sam, as you said, these are all large communities. They're not Mayberry. Last council meeting I read, Ms. Lane Washington, State Deputy ID, mourned by community as one of our finest, who was shot in a road rage case. That's a community of 1,500 people. So when I look at, should we have subdued vehicles, or should we do everything we can to make sure that the officers that we put on the streets every morning stand the best chance of going? That's for the future where I'm always going to come down. Our oldest son, luckily, has survived 22 years as a law enforcement officer. But subdued marking means some of the folks in the community are going to be upset because they feel like we're trying to hide our police officers from them. I'll take that hit. But I'm always going to vote on the side of making sure that our police officers stand the best opportunity they can of going home at night. Having said that, we're also going to make sure that they're held responsible for any actions that are inappropriate. If we're going to make the commitment to them to do everything we can to make sure you go home, then they need to make the commitment to us to behave in a professional manner. That isn't suggesting that they haven't, because we haven't looked at the tapes, at the film. But we need to do that. We need to assure the public that happens. So, for me, Sam, I want to make sure those officers go home. And if you're not breaking the law, you shouldn't have to worry about getting pulled over. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Misty, would you please note that by executive decision that it delayed the public hearing based on extended communications from the public. I would like to open a public hearing. The time is 7:57, and this is a hearing to act upon the application from the Family Dollar stores of South Dakota to sell alcoholic beverages, retail on-off, sell malt beverage in the South Dakota farm wine and retail on-off sale wine and cider license, and that be used at their business location at 2244 University. At this time, the public hearing is open. Are there any comments from the public as to whether the Family Dollar stores of South Dakota should or should not apply or have these malt and wine licenses? Hearing none from the public, are there any comments from the, or questions from the council? At this time, the public hearing, 7:58, the public hearing is closed. I would ask for a motion to approve those licenses as you have in your packages.
I'll make a motion to act on the application from Family Dollar Stores of South Dakota, LLC, for the following alcoholic beverage licenses: retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine and retail on-off sale wine and cider license to be used at 2244 University Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve those licenses. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Licenses are approved. You have before you personnel actions A through E. I've got a couple of questions or a couple of corrections to make. Lindsay Reed's name is misspelled, the typo there. It should be Lynde. DSAY. And Sam Old's effective date, rather than 5/2/19, is 5/28/19. Based on those corrections, I would ask for a motion to approve personnel actions A through E as corrected.
I make a motion to approve personal actions A through E as corrected.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve personnel actions A through E as corrected, and those corrections again, the misspelling of Lindsay's name and the effective date for Sam Olds of 5/28/19. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to committees reports. Administrative and Finance, Bob.
The next admin and finance meeting will be June 3rd at City Hall at 1 p.m. in the public's welcome.
Okay, thank you. Airport Advisory Committee, Bill?
Next Airport Advisory Committee will be Thursday, May 30th at 8 a.m. at the airport.
Okay, thank you. Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management District, Ron?
Custer Fall River met 9 May 2019 here at the Mueller Civic Center. Signature changes on the council CDs were approved. Terry Baker reported tire shredding is going well. Asked for approval to shred a large amount of mattresses. Said they're buried in mattresses. That would be in addition to what we had approved before. And stockpiled railroad ties he wants shredded, and that was granted. We had the farewell for Linda Mines, who retired after 25 years. Next meeting will be 11th of June, 2019, 7 p.m. at the Mueller Civic Center. This is our annual meeting. It's open to the public.
Okay, thank you very much, Ron. Downtown Historic Preservation Commission, Harleen?
The next meeting will be June 5th at 5 o'clock at the library.
Okay, thank you. Evans Plunge Advisory Committee, Allison?
Evans Plunge Advisory meeting met May 9th, 2019. There were some updates on staffing and incentives. We have 3 individuals that are going to be trained in Spearfish to get their WSI training. Cheyenne, Joshua, and Kyle are going to do that, so that will be very helpful to have more WSIs available for different instruction. What's that?
It's on the agenda, Josh, if you want to do a different one.
Oh, he changed it? Kathy's changed it. So there's a change. Kathy and not Josh. Okay. Okay. They're going to have another class in order to do the outdoor pool. There's some concern about staffing there. So if you have any info on who wants to be a lifeguard, they're looking for lifeguards. And the corner sign is going to be changing, losing that old marquee, and there's a new sign that's more of a sculpture type that's going up. So be on the lookout for that one. There was a 130 years of the plunge is coming up next year, so they've already started discussing ideas for that. So that's just the beginning. So if you have any fun ideas for the 130th next year, you can let the committee know. A couple other things that came up that weren't on the agenda, but some of the committee members brought were some asking about funds for the hot tubs, hoping that we would be able to move forward in getting new hot tubs. This has been discussed a lot as they're aging. So that was just a discussion about when that would be possible to get new hot tubs. And there was a Mother's Day swim for free. Teachers swam for free the first week of May, and they wanted to add next year Nurses Week as well, because Teachers Week and Nurses Week, so next year teachers and nurses will be able to swim free. There was some suggestion about swimming suits. Since Shopko is closing, would the plunge want to be able to offer more swimsuits based on that nobody's going to be able to go to Shopko? So there's discussion with that, no decisions. Next meeting's June 13th, 2019 at noon at the plunge.
Thank you, Allison. Parks, Recreation, Beautification, and Cultural Development, Marty?
Next Parks meeting is Tuesday, June 4th at 3 p.m. at the Miller Civic Center.
Okay, thank you. Planning and Zoning Commission, Allison?
Planning and zoning met Wednesday, May 15th. First new business was Hot Springs Industrial Park zoning change to mixed use, and the group had discussed a recommendation to changing it to mixed use. So there was discussion about that. Mike Close came to the meeting at 2213 Jennings. He was interested in an accessory building regarding RA zoning. There was some rules regarding subordinate size accessory buildings, so he wanted to make sure he was doing that process correctly and looked to the commission on how to make sure to move forward on that. They suggested he move forward with a process use permit on review, so he will begin those stages. Scott brought to the group an ADU zoning for Hot Springs. This is at the beginning stages of just being discussed regarding being able to have 2 dwelling houses. You'll hear more on that as more information comes through. There is some information regarding Old Business, Boulder Falls Business Park and Campground. There was some discussion about how mixed use does not allow for campgrounds and how that will be zoned. Looks like that's got all figured out. They're going to be able to move forward. There will be some discussion once they have their plan in place about drainage, but that's going to come later when they have that put together for their own purchase agreement. Let's see. Olstad's City of Hot Springs land swap, they just updated the group that process was being prepared and moving forward. There was discussion regarding the Baker property access road that we discussed earlier today, and looking into how all of that was zoned, and so that was going to be continued discussion as well. Our next meeting is June 19th, 2019, 7 p.m. at City Hall.
Okay, thank you. Public Safety, Bill?
Public Safety met on Wednesday, May 15th at 2 p.m. at City Hall. Present were Mayor Cotty, myself, Councilman Bob Nelson, Marty Myers, Chief Mike Close, City Administrator Kim, Safety Coordinator Lori Sherrard, Fall River County Emergency Manager Frank Maynard, and Hot Springs Volunteer Fire Department Chief Dar McCoy. Under old business, Lori Sherrard provided a report on the number of crosswalk signs needed to have a sign in the middle of the street on all mid-block crosswalks. It would take 15 signs to provide or replace all battered signs at a cost of almost $5,000, which would more than deplete the street department sign budget. After a lot of discussion, it was determined that after the school term, the signs in the school zone will be redeployed to River Street. We'll also try to reface other signs at a much reduced cost. In addition to the sign work, seasonal street painting, which will include crosswalks, will begin in early June, assuming the snow stops. And it is believed that these combined efforts will provide adequate markings for the mid-block crosswalks on River Street, which were the main focus of our discussion. Under new business, Councilman Myers was present to discuss concerns presented to him by various members of the public regarding the need for the fire siren. Frank Maynard and Dar McCoy were both present for discussion, as Fall River County is the owner and custodian of the siren, and the Hot Springs Volunteer Fire Department uses the siren to notify its members of an emergency. As background to the issue, Marty provided the following. He provided information on possible impacts to those suffering from PTSD, also the unintended disturbances of the public when the siren goes off, as well as questioning the need for the system given the growing use of other electronic notification systems such as I Am Responding, which some communities have used and then discontinued the use of their siren systems. We learned through the discussion from Frank and Dar and Chief Close that Hot Springs Fire Department has started using the I Am Responding system on a trial basis but has not seen the full success to date that other communities have reported. One of the factors that impacts this is that the Fall River County is our dispatch center, and it is typically staffed by only a single dispatcher, whereas other counties, such as even Custer County, has 2 dispatchers on duty on each shift. Having a single dispatcher can delay the effective use of the IM responding system because of the volume of communications coming in from 911 calls and radio calls from the various agencies such as fire, police, sheriffs, and ambulance that may be responding to an incident. Because of the amount of traffic, especially in the early moments of an incident, the most expedient method of notifying the firefighters is using the siren. As a committee, we understand that using the siren may have less than desirable impacts, but until a truly effective replacement can be identified, procured, and implemented, the use of the siren to notify and summon the firefighters will need to continue. Also, as a committee, we will continue to discuss the effectiveness of the IM responding system with the fire chief and the emergency manager, as well as being on the lookout for other technologies that could someday allow us to retire the siren from use as the means to notify our firefighters. On other new business items, Chief McCoy brought up the need for a decision tool to be used by Fall River Dispatch and our police department to determine when open fires within the city limits were in compliance with our ordinance, Chapter 9B, Fire Protection and Prevention. This item has been added to the committee's action item list, and a draft of the decision tool will be developed and reviewed in the June meeting. Chief Close provided an update of departmental activities, some of the highlights. The Ford Taurus continues to have mechanical problems and has been pulled from service. This has made it necessary to place the new Charger in service prior to the decals being placed on it. And so this is one vehicle that is currently is in service that is unmarked. All other equipment, including lights and siren, have been installed on the Charger. At the time of the meeting, one of our officers was on paternity leave, and Officer Hayashi is still at the academy, but will finish up on June 6th. In order to control overtime and help the other officers maintain a more manageable schedule, Chief Close has been working a number of midnight shifts. We appreciate him getting up from the middle of his sleeping period to come to the meeting. Our officers have been involved in a number of significant narcotics stops, and we appreciate their diligence and dedication. If you noticed on the Facebook postings, a stolen motorbike and a stolen car from Hot Springs have been recovered. One of the pieces of information that Chief Close shared, and I think I've got this data right, Rapid City is experiencing about 50 stolen vehicles a week. Most of those vehicles are not being broken into. They are unlocked and the keys are somewhere in the vehicle. So we encourage everyone to lock your vehicles. Meeting adjourned about 3:30 p.m. and our next meeting will be Wednesday, June 19th at 2 p.m. at City Hall.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Public Works, Bob and Ray.
Public Works met at May 14th at City Hall. Mayor Connie, Ray, Kim, Tracy, Scott, and myself were present. Our brush piles, as the mayor had mentioned last week, the chipping had started on those. Drove by them today, and the only pile that's remaining of branches and everything is the old Derby area. Those other big piles that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years, they've all been munched and they're in chips now. So work is progressing. If they keep up with the rate they're going, it will be well before the end of, they'll be done before the July is when their contract is up. Brian talked with you folks a little bit about 805 South 11th Street, and we've been talking about that. As Brian had mentioned, Kim sent a letter to the affected property owners, the Ham Radio Club and the Bakers, about the remaining items that need to be addressed. Brian talked about the coax cable, which actually comes from the antenna arrangement that goes to the Ham Radio Club, and then the utility power line that goes to it. Those two items need to be raised to allow access under them once Catholican is scratched up and some gravel is put down on it. The problem is that in 2018, we talked about this before, the council did grant Bakers access to their property from Catholican. But for anybody that would like to go out, I'd be happy to take you up and show you the situation so you can visualize it a little better. It'll probably make more sense. Even though they have access to Catholican, there really isn't a Catholican for them to have access to. Well, that's what the city needs to do, and has agreed to do, the mayor's agreed that we need to get that taken care of. The access to the property since March's have owned it has been on private property. Well, that property owner has now decided that Bakers can't use that access that's been used since the mid-90s to get to their property. The Bakers received a letter from the attorney on behalf of Morgan's, identifying to them that there's two parts to the letter. One paragraph says cease and desist. The following paragraph says that they have 8 months to provide access to their property. What the assumption the city is working on is we have 8 months to get them access. So Brian, you're still waiting for a response from the attorney that sent you the letter clarifying how long you have. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir. We've left 2 messages.
Okay.
No return calls.
So ideally then you'll get a response to what that is, and the city will know for sure how long they have to provide that access. The other thing that Brian had talked about was who should pay to move those 2 lines. When I spoke with Brian, I mentioned that the coax line, that should be easy enough to raise. This is my opinion only. There's 2 poles that it runs between. It runs between a wooden pole and an actual one of the actual antennas. This looks like all that needs to happen with that is somebody climb the pole, somebody climb the tower, and raise it up. So there shouldn't be any cost in doing that. The power line itself, which is frustrating Brian, frustrating Dan Green, is who's going to pay that cost? It's my opinion the city should cover that cost. Raising power lines themselves, Black Hills Power Line comes in and disconnects them and raises them. The cost in doing that would be to actually add, to raise the height of the service mast that comes from Black Hills Power Line down to the power meter on the building. So there's going to be some cost there. Should the Bakers cover the cost of it, or should the Ham Radio Club cover the cost of it? That's the discussion. Who should actually cover that cost? Brian had also talked about a street sign. The last time you and I talked, I mentioned I would bring that up in Public Works. I haven't gotten back with you since. The reason I haven't gotten back is when I looked at your situation, and then I've been driving around town to take a look at all other intersections and see how they're marked. My understanding of our conversation was you were wanting a sign on your side of the street. Because there's a sign on the library side of the street, and you were looking for a sign that said Catholican on your side of the street. Did I misunderstand you on that?
No, sir. Catholican and Butternut Avenue is all I want.
Okay. So looking at all the other intersections in town, from what I've seen, I haven't looked at all of them yet, but I've looked at enough of them, I'm pretty comfortable that at any intersection in town, there's only one street sign that actually marks that intersection. And, you know, which streets are going which way. There's not street signs on two sides of the intersections. So there really only needs to be one sign on your intersection. Now, what ends up happening, and Kim brought this up, is that Catholican is a split road. The road that runs in front of the library is not Catholican Avenue. It's Library Drive. Catholican starts on the other end of Library Drive, and then ends on the property that runs in front of your house. So that'll be a matter of what sign should go there. In talking with your wife Nancy, she was concerned at this point, this early in the season, about actually changing it to Catholican, because you folks have your address out there as 805 South 11. So she was a little concerned, how would that work if people are looking for, or how would you go out and change all of that public presence that you have as 805 South 11. The other thing we had talked about is, and you mentioned Tracy, was actually putting some kind of sign up that would show 805 South 5th Street and pointing to your property. You're squinting at me.
805 South 11. We don't even live on 11th Street. I'm just saying out loud, Bob, it's like we had a client come by Saturday and went to Morgan's house because there's no really definition. That's all I'm saying. But,
Okay.
you know, I just think we could make it happen. We're early stages, we're infant stages to set this business up.
So
we can change it.
I'm just trying to understand the questions that I understood you put to me to give you answers. And you spoke with Tracy about some other kind of sign that would point to Catholic, or point to 805 South 5th, South 11. Not Tracy, talking with Scott.
Oh, Scott.
About what kind of permitting would allow that.
Yes.
And he said, yes, there wouldn't be a problem with that at all. An A sign or something at this point, identifying, 805 South 11 Valley. I think that's currently the easiest way to identify your property as 805 South 11, when your property actually should be 805 Catholican. But until something more permanent happens with Catholican, I think it's going to work out better for you to keep 805 South 11.
Okay.
So I think the city is in a good place for what we can do. The catch, as you and I talked about last, is what's going to happen with that Black Hills Power line, and what's going to happen with the cable line. And the city hasn't heard back from the Ham Radio Club yet about how they're going to react to that. The other thing we talked about was you were concerned about emergency access. And is agreed completely that if a fire truck needs to get into your property, the quickest way for them to do that is across the existing Morgan property, to save your property. What the city is, and Public Works has agreed to, is as soon as we figure out what's going to happen with those lines, they'll come in, they'll scratch that area, put gravel down, and connect with what you've already done. And then that also would provide access for the Seacrest to get into their property, because we completely missed that they're affected by the same thing that you're affected by. If you can't drive on that, they can't drive on it. So now we have 3 folks that are affected by the access that's been denied to your property and the other properties.
So I guess my last question would be, if the radio station goes back and says, we're not paying for it, then how do we find a mediator to do this?
Yeah, that's what.
The power company isn't going to charge Misty to actually raise the line. It's the service mast itself that runs from the meter base up to where Black Hills Power Line connects. That needs to be raised so the minimum height across the street can be maintained. So that would be where the cost is in raising that service mast. So, an answer for you tonight. Don't have it at this point. Let's see what they come back and say, and see if anything can be worked out at this point. But at this point, continue using the Morgan property until you get the official response from the lawyer that sent you the letter, whether you can continue to use it or you have to cease and desist immediately. That's really what it comes down to. That will help the city knowing what we can do. We talked with you when you first approached this, that given all the other things that the city has on their schedule for spring work, you probably weren't going to have that road prior to when you open. But we're doing what we can to get it to you as soon as possible once those lines are moved.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Does that answer your questions?
All but the one.
May not be what you heard, but at least did you get answers to your questions?
Okay, thank you.
Prairie Hills Transit, still ongoing with that. Haven't heard anything official from them, what decision they're making. We keep hearing that through other sources that they're going after Rick's Auto Supply. But unless the mayor's heard something since our last public works meeting, the city hasn't heard from them that that's officially what they're going to do.
I believe that the only addition to that, Bob, came with looking at what they communicated to the county in asking for money to purchase Rick's Auto Supply. They were asking for the county to do that, so I assume that that's the direction that they're going.
And that's my personal frustration is it's real easy to contact you and indicate to you what their plans are, and we haven't heard from them yet. Fall River water users, they have asked to negotiate a new contract. Their contract, I believe, is up next year. The committee talked about some concerns that we have with that. Kim sent a letter addressing what those are. So we'll continue having those conversations with them. The Olstead land swap, all of those documents are at the title company, and we should be getting that taken care of. 26th Street Water Project, that work is still in progress. Asphalt repair, Kim and Tracy are finishing the list of street repairs that can be completed with this year's street repair budget. It's $50,000, and that's not going to get us very far in what we really need to have happen, but we'll try to stretch it as far as we can. And for the council folks who will be with us at budget time, I think we need to seriously look at trying to figure out how we can raise the street repair budget. We got a lot of problems in town. We need to start getting those addressed. We also had a business that wants us to consider a seasonal sewer rate. Right now, they aren't discharging any water into the sewer system in their off-season months, but they're still charged a full month's rate for that. And we think it's only fair to begin looking at charging a seasonal rate if they're not putting water into the sewer system.
But I think one big important clarification is they have their own water source,
yes,
well, that they provide as opposed to city water.
One new business item. Kim Tracy and several of the city staff met with the South Dakota Department of Transportation on May 9th regarding the Highway 385 reconstruction project, and she did send an email to all the council detailing what was talked about at those meetings. Also, Holt Homes, they're on the agenda tonight, plus their paperwork is also with the title company. Ray, do you have anything else?
I'd just like to comment that Public Works has a lot of iron in the fire, and we try to work on them, and stay ahead of them and try to get them all solved. But for the most part, a lot of them are still on hold. We're looking for information to ease some of these Public Works matters, and one of them would be the complaint of Catolican Avenue. issues right away that has taken place all these years and how we solve them. So some of these issues take a while to work out, so I'd ask the public to be patient with us. We do the best we can out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
So, to add to what Ray's talking about, the old business items that we follow every 2 weeks, there's a list of 14 items. I didn't talk about all those 14 items. Some of them, are just ongoing, or I don't have an update for you. We also have a list of 16 items that are to do later kind of things, that don't have as high a priority as some of these do. So we're looking at close to 30 items that can be followed in Public Works. It takes a while sometimes.
Okay.
Right, so nothing else?
No, that's it.
Okay,
So for you folks, the next Public Works meeting will be next Tuesday, May 28th, 3 o'clock at City Hall. So I would encourage you for the seekers to attend to see what updates we might have for you. And Brian, ideally, you'll have new information for us as far as how long you have to continue using the Morgan Road. And maybe we'll have heard back from the Ham Club by then, so we'll have new information. If you have the time, you're welcome to attend.
And that's same with planning and zoning, you'll be on our list as well. So we're June 19th, so if you want to come in and know what we're talking about there and add anything, please feel free to do that.
Okay, thank you. Southern Hills Economic Development, Marty.
Southern Hills met this economic development this last Friday. I was unable to attend. I will be getting an update this week, and I will give my report at the June 3rd meeting, the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Golf Course Committee has met. One of the big areas, there's some new local rules dealing with penalty areas and mode areas. The Golf Course Committee decided not to invoke local rules, but allow the leagues and individual tournaments to determine how they would treat those areas during their events. Obviously, we've had a slow start. It's even slowed by the white stuff that's on the ground. The golf course maintenance staff is working to get started, continuing to clean up and plant the areas where there was some winter kill. And those should be planting within the next week or so if they haven't been accomplished earlier this week. Or late last week. One of the areas that Jason is concerned about is top dressing sand and how to keep healthy greens and also encourage good playability. He wants to do added applications of sand, and we're having a little difficulty finding sand that meets USGA standards. If you don't keep a proper course, a proper mix of sand, you have a tendency to create a stratification that can also cause some, over the years, the grass not to be able to be adequately watered. And so Jason is on top of that, trying to find some sand that will meet those standards and keep our greens healthy. The other area that was looked at are cart path repairs. The ideal solution would be to get a paving machine out there with a whole bunch of asphalt, but that's way too costly. So one of the things that the committee is encouraging Jason to do is to take the most critical areas and we'll be using perhaps there's a lot of construction going on. Oftentimes there's overages that those concrete trucks bring with them. They have to dump them at the construction site and they go to waste. And Jason will be looking at having cart path areas that are critical formed up to accept additional concrete that might be otherwise wasted. So that's an area that we're looking at to save money on the budgets and also fix a needed area in on our golf course cart paths. And I think that concludes our advisory committee report. We just wish for some sunshine and warm weather to see some additional play out there. Volunteer Fire Department, Ron?
Volunteer Fire Department met 14th of May. Not a whole lot going on. 9 a.m. Saturday, June the 8th, is a counter response exercise, I guess it's. They'll get together with various county agencies and stuff. The scenario is a bomb is at the Fall River Hospital, so don't be alarmed if you hear a bomb alert or something. On June 8th anyway. They will be doing some training for the reaction force. They had some discussion on what Bill already covered about the siren thing. Right now the firefighters would feel pretty vulnerable without that siren. So that's about all I'll say about that. They do have 41 enrolled firefighters now, so they're pretty much right up to strength on that. They're 41 firefighters. Next meeting will be the 11th of June. Possibly Volunteer Fire Department, 7 p.m. Public is welcome.
Okay, thank you, Ron, and that was good news on the fire, all the different firefighters that we've got. I know that was a concern a year ago, that we were even going to be able to maintain a volunteer fire department. So you've done a great job in that area.
Oh, yeah.
We appreciate you and the job that DAR and the fire department are doing in that area. Comprehensive plan, Sam?
I don't have an update right now, but we are going to have our final meeting in the latter half of June, which will be the finalization meeting for the comprehensive plan. So it should be finished by the end of June.
Okay, thank you. Moving on our agenda, we do have tonight the first reading of Ordinance 1199. And what we need to do is revise Chapter 15 of the pawnbrokers section to amend Section 15-14. I again appreciate our state's attorney, Brian Arndt, coming forward and pointing a discrepancy that we had in that section. And by changing this, we allow our victims of crime that have items brought to the pawn shop to have a better opportunity of getting their property back. So I would ask for a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance, the change to Ordinance 1199.
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of Ordinance 1199, revising Chapter 15, pawnbrokers to amend Section 15-14.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we pass that first reading of this ordinance change. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, Misty, I'd ask if you'd call the roll, please.
Arlene Kane,
Yes.
Ray Eckerby,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Martin Meyer,
Yes.
Bob Nelson,
Yes.
Sam Powers,
Yes.
Ron Richards,
Yes.
Allison Ritterbusch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that first reading has passed. Moving on to new business, we do have a possible motion before us to reduce the employee discounts given at the plunge and golf course from 30% to 20%. And that is done in order to exclude the value of the discount from an employee's taxable wages, and that is due to an IRS ruling from publication 15B, the employer's tax guide to fringe benefits. And that reduction of discounts would be effective immediately. And Misty, do you have an additional explanation so the council understands why we're doing this?
You can generally exclude the value of an employee discount you provide to an employee from their wages, but it cannot exceed 20%. The benefit to our employees would from what we discussed, it would not be as great if we had to tax the full benefit as it would be to just decrease the benefit from the 30% we're currently giving to 20% in the defined tax.
So I'd accept a motion to reduce that discount.
I make a motion. Is that working? It's not.
Yes.
Does somebody else want to make a motion? I make a motion to reduce employee discounts given at Evans Plunge Mineral Spring and Southern Hills Golf Course from 30% to 20% in order to exclude the value of the discount from an employee's taxable wages, IRS Publication 15. B, Employer's Tax Guide to Fringe Benefits, effective immediately.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to reduce this discount. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? And again, please understand this is not trying to come against our employees from getting a discount. It's trying to save them some tax dollars. So, any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, we have a motion to approve the purchase agreement between Halt Homes LLC and the City of Hot Springs, and that are to those tracks A, B1, B2, and C, all revised. And that's in those Canton Avenue lots where we'll be building workforce housing. The purchase agreement contract in your packages, item 5 was left blank. We were waiting to see when we could do a closing, and we feel that June 10th is a safe date to put in item 5 where it's blank. And we discussed today also in item 8 about the schedule, that we would start within 30 days. That gives us plenty of time to complete the project, ongoing project, water project on 25th and 26th Street, which, as you know, because of weather and other emergencies has been delayed. And we would ask for 90 days to complete it. And again, the reason for that is in discussing that with Tracy and John, that 90 days, in case we do run into some areas where there's some rock underneath the subsoil, we would have to, it would take a little bit longer to do that. And then, of course, we don't know what kind of emergency situations we'll be facing this summer. So with the limited manpower that we have, it was recommended that the 30 days and the 90 days be added in those blanks. With that said, I would ask for a motion to approve that purchase agreement between Halt Homes and the City of Hot Springs.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase agreement between Halt Homes LLC and the City of Hot Springs, exchanging Tract A, B1, B2, and C in the Stewart's Addition, Block 19, for the development of workforce housing as agreed in the proposal accepted by the city on 3/18/19.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve that purchase agreement. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
I have a question. Okay, regarding number 4, I see that we have an agreement regarding that at closing that they will transfer the $5,000 or give the $5,000. I just was wondering if we need any verbiage there about if they don't do it at the time of closing, if there's any delay for any reason. I see we have, you know, a kind of contingency regarding if there's a delay to building. I was just wondering if we would want to consider a delay in case there's anything that comes up regarding that fee.
Okay, I don't believe that's necessary if for some reason, even if there is no sale or closing. The initial RFP agreement, those properties come back to us after a certain amount of time.
Right, I understand that. I'm just wondering if at closing, when they're supposed to give us the 5,000, if there's happens to be a delay that we don't get that money, then you're suggesting that it would go back to the other items back here that if they didn't give us the 5,000 with the building. I'm more worried, or not worried, but just questioning regarding if there needs to be any verbiage, if they are 20 days later, 60 days later, anything like that at closing time. Of course, we hope that it'll go seamlessly and they close and they bring it,
And we have had our attorney look at this for legal sufficiency. I believe the wording is legally sufficient. Is that right, Garland? That you would feel that we would have the opportunity to take legal action to pursue getting it.
So we're okay sitting on it even if it's 60 days later, whatever, without any...
We did initially have some verbiage in there with like an interest penalty, but in the discussions, we removed that. Based on it would just be a breach of contract.
Okay.
So if they didn't pay the money, it would be a breach.
Which would go back into the other aspects that are back in here regarding the time of completion and default, is what you're saying. That would go into that section. Just go.
Yeah,
okay.
it would be just basic contract law.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good question. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Garland.
Comment and question. I'm excited that we've got this purchase agreement for us to vote on. The Olstead land swap is coming together, so what we've been working on for the last year and a half is right in front of us. And Mayor, I think you were beginning to talk about it in that right now the city crews, water and sewer crews are tied up with the 26th Street assessment. But getting water and sewer to this project, is that going to be the next item on the city's list to try to get accomplished?
That is their next item, yes.
Because not only will it affect Holt Homes, but it will affect Olstead property also and getting their house up.
Yeah.
Good. Glad to see that moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. We just pray there's no rock croppings underneath. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving this purchase agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And again, I want to thank the council for your patience and working through this. It's a very, very important step forward for Hot Springs as we look forward to getting some workforce housing and hopefully priming the pump for many more affordable homes in our community. Looking at item C, we have a possible motion and discussion to approve the replat. And you have this in your packages in Cold Brook Springs edition of Hot Springs, and you have a plot prepared by Anderson Engineers. This was to be on the agenda last week, and we just flat missed it, so we'll get this taken care of this week. I accept the motion to approve that replat.
I'll make a motion to approve the replat titled Lot B-1R and Lot CR of Block 7 of Cold Springs Edition, the City of Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota, prepared by Anderson Engineers, dated April 30th, 2019.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the replat. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That replat is approved. We also have a possible motion and discussion to approve a replat. This one is in the Boulder Falls Business Park. I believe that Ellison alluded to that being considered in our planning and zoning. This is a property that is planned to be developed as a campground and cabins and as a check-in building that would be located near Stay USA in the Forest Service building. This replat needs to be done so that property can be developed. I'd ask for a motion then to approve that replat.
I'll make a motion to approve the replat titled lots S-10R, S-11R, S-26R, S-27, S-28, S-29, and Tract 5R of Boulder Falls Business Park, City of Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota, prepared by Anderson Engineers and dated 2/28/19 for Boulder Falls Resort.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this replat. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We also have another replat in your packages. These are the Winia Tracts 1, 2, and 3. I think this is to clear up some lot lines and document some easements across that property. And I would ask for a motion to approve that replat titled Winia Tracts 1, 2, and 3.
Make a motion to approve the replat titled Winia Tracts 1, 2, and 3, an access and utility easement in Fargo and Prentice's addition to the City of Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota, prepared by Anderson Engineers and dated April 4, 2019 for simple lot line revisions.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve this, these plats. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Okay. And let's just take about a 5-minute recess and reconvene. We'll reconvene at about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I know.
And when you don't like personalities, that's not fair. If you don't like personalities, that's their job. If you don't like personalities, that's not fair. But I like yours.
Okay, we'll go ahead and reconvene. The time is now 9:02. And we're moving on in our agenda to item F, a possible motion and discussion to approve the replat entitled the Patel Tract Block 2. This is up by Motel 8. I would ask for a motion to approve that replat. You should have a copy of that in your packages.
I'll make a motion to approve the replat titled Patel Tract of Block 2 and Shirag Tract of Block 5 of Anderson Mountain View addition to the City of Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota, prepared by Anderson Engineers and dated 8/11/18 for Super 8, a simple lot line revision.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve that replat. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
George, I think that's supposed to say 19, and I don't know why it would be dated August 2019.
Oh.
But I think that's an error in the date. We could get that cleared up. I don't think it should affect the motion, but make note of it.
Should say 19.
Well, and we're not there yet
Even
either,
in August,
so
yeah.
that is what it says on here, is August 19th. It's probably just a misprint.
Yeah, the meeting hasn't been that long, I don't believe. So, agreed, we'll get them to make that correction on the plat prior to signing it. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. As was mentioned earlier about the dollar general grant for our Literacy Foundation Summer Reading Program.
And
we've got-
You skipped one.
Oh, did I? Oh, excuse me. Thank you. We need a public hearing on June 3rd at 7:10 to review proposed changes to Chapter 27. That's a zoning ordinance. And what we'll be doing is setting a public hearing to review our airport zoning. This will also be brought before, it has been discussed at our planning and zoning. We will also bring it to our airport board. We probably won't have a zoning regulation to consider at that time, but we want to get the public hearing out and open, and so there we can draft a good, accurate zoning ordinance for our airport. As you know, we annexed the airport, and now we need to ensure that that's zoned properly so that as development continues at our airport, we are done in accordance with our zoning regulations. So that hearing we will set for the June 3rd meeting at 7:10 if you approve that.
Make a motion to set a public hearing on June 3rd, 2019 at 7:10 p.m. to review proposed changes to Chapter 27 zoning ordinance, adding a section for airport zoning regulations as 27-A.04.13 airport zoning regulations.
It'll actually be 1.4 because you just approved 1.3 to be the PUD ordinance in the last few meetings, so that's a typo.
I'll amend my motion to make it 27-A.04.14.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve that hearing for 7:10 on June 3rd. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we move on to item H, the summer reading program grant. I'd accept a motion to authorize our library director to accept that $2,000 grant.
I make a motion to authorize Don Johnson, Library Director, to accept the 2019 Dollar General Literacy Foundation Summer Reading Program Grant in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept this grant. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We have a possible motion to approve a temporary alcoholic beverage license application from Winter Circle to be used here at the Mueller Civic Center for the Trampas Paskovich Memorial Fundraiser on June 1st. I'd accept a motion to approve that temporary alcoholic beverage license.
Make a motion to approve a temporary alcoholic beverage license application from CS Incorporated, doing business as Winter Circle, to be used at 801 South 6th Street for the Trampas Paskovich Memorial Fundraiser on June 1st, 2019.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this temporary alcoholic beverage license. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We also have a possible motion and discussion for another temporary alcoholic beverage license application, this one from Sancho's, to be used at Centennial Park for the Main Street Arts and Crafts Festival, and this would run from the from June 27th to June 29th.
I'll make a motion to approve a temporary alcoholic beverage license application from Sancho's Bar and Grill to be used at Centennial Park for the Main Street's Art and Craft Festival on June 27th through June 29th, 19.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this temporary alcoholic beverage license. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We also have a travel request for Scott Soggy to attend the Black Hills Planners meeting in Rapid City on the, I guess, May 3rd, so this is a post-approval request. I would ask for a motion to approve that travel request.
Make a motion to approve the travel request for Scott Sogi, Development Coordinator, to attend the Black Hills Planners Meeting in Rapid City on May 3rd, 2019.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve this travel request. Are there any questions, comments, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Also have a travel request for Joshua Johnson, our Evans Plunge Aquatics Manager, and he would be attending lifeguard instructor training in Rapid City on the 30th and 31st of this month. I'd accept a motion to approve that travel request.
Make a motion to approve travel request for Joshua Johnson, Evans Plunge Aquatics Manager, to attend lifeguard instructor training in Rapid City, May 30th and May 31st, 2019.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve this travel request for Joshua. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And our last item of new business is a travel request for Evans Plunge lifeguards. We've got 3 of them, or 2 lifeguards, and then our recreation director, Kathy Wren, to attend a water safety instructor course in spearfish. I'd ask for a motion to approve that travel request.
I'll make a motion to approve the travel request for EPMS lifeguards Cheyenne Stewart and Kyle Holcomb, and Recreation Director Kathy Wren to attend water safety instructor training in Spearfish, South Dakota on May 30th, 2019.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this travel request. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finance Officer report, Misty.
Thank you. I promise to keep it shorter than the last time. In front of you, you have the following financial reports through the end of April. The year-to-date profit and loss summary report, the fund summary report, the cash balance report, and the investment reports shows all the cash assets of the city, current balances in each of our funds, and the projections, how we're doing in revenue and expenses compared to our budget. As always, if you have any questions about any of those numbers, please don't hesitate to ask. I throw a lot of numbers at you in my monthly reports. They are significant, and you can find the information that you're looking for in there, so if you're not sure what you're looking at, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll be happy to go through it with you. The audit field work was completed last week. Unless there's any unexpected delays, we plan to have our 2018 audit report presented at the June 17th council meeting. Just like we have in the past, we'll plan a special meeting 1 hour before the regularly scheduled meeting. This will be a meeting that the public is invited to, but it'll be a more informal discussion with the council and the auditors as they go over the full report. And then they'll give an abbreviated version of their readout during the council meeting. I will post a notice of quorum. Everyone is invited. You're not required. If you're leaving and you don't mind not knowing, you don't have to be here, but you're welcome to attend if you'd like. I have been chosen to serve on a committee with the Municipal League. It's one of 4 policy committees of the Municipal League. It's the General Government Policy Committee. I'm excited for the opportunity to do that, and they meet twice a year. In August, they typically meet in person, and then again in October at the annual conference. I will attend the August meeting by teleconference, but I will be requesting travel to the annual conference in Aberdeen in October. We are still working on the comprehensive wage study. On May 2nd, I participated in a virtual meeting with Patricia Doherty, and we reviewed some preliminary information. The rough draft she presented was very rough. There are several items still needing additional research and some corrections.
After our call, I compiled some additional figures for her documents so she could continue with her work, and another meeting will be scheduled in June to review progress. Ideally, the study will be completed and presented to the council prior to our 2020 budget meetings. I have received the legal and editorial research and report from American Legal Publishing. This is the next step in our ordinance codification project. They sent that out to council members, and our attorney will be doing a review of that report as well as various committees within the city. We have 60 days to respond to that, so by July 12th, we will complete our review and respond and move on to the next step of that ordinance codification. The budget training is scheduled for June 5th. That's put on by the Municipal League and hosted by Rod Horton from DLA. The workshop is from 10 to 3 p.m. at that day. If you're interested in attending, please let me know by June 10th, which is the deadline date for RSVPs. I've provided a short update about the interest in the vacancies that will occur after those of you on the council currently finish up your terms. As you know, we have a Ward 3 vacancy and Ward 4. Allison Ritterbusch has graciously agreed to stay on for another year. If you're willing to appoint her, and it'll be up to the new council to do that. And then Ward 4, I did receive a letter of interest from Caitlin Turner in Ward 4. I have reached out to the new aldermen to invite them to both the audit readout and the upcoming budget training, but it is up to the new council to appoint those 2 vacancies, so I haven't invited either of those people to that, because the audit readout is public, so they can come if they want. You're welcome. If you haven't been in the finance office in a while, please come in and check it out. We got some new furniture from Federal Surplus, and we have a new look in the finance office. We're still looking for a cubicle-type divider because we're staring at each other because our desks are facing. But I visited with Lyle Jensen from the county, and we may team up with them to do a surplus auction, and he mentioned they may have a piece that might work. So I'm hoping to find that from the county and be gracious enough to give us something that we can put between our desks. But we're very thankful to have that change done. Where Karen's desk was, it's a very cold wall, no insulation between the brick of the wall, the door. We stuck shims in it to try to weatherize it a little bit better, but it's very cold over there in that corner, and so to be able to come off that, the cool air from the jail in the back and the door and the wall and window there, she's much happier and much warmer. And so we thank you for approving that purchase and then bearing with us, as it seems like we're always doing something to move things around in that office. So we are still waiting for some quotes on an electrician. We need to add an outlet for the heat tape that keeps the roof drain warm. After we had a roof repair, we had some more leaking, and it was the result of a roof drain that gets frozen. But we don't have power upstairs, so we need to provide an outlet either outside or somewhere where we can heat that tape and keep that freezing from happening in the water from sitting on our roof. And then with the move, we need to move an outlet as well. But once we're done with that, I think we'll be done for a while. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Misty.
Mayor Connie?
Yes.
If I may, Misty, you say you're excited to announce that you've been appointed. So that congratulations are in order, not condolences.
Thank you. To be recognized by your peers, I think you all know, is probably one of the best recognitions we can get. And so to be invited to participate with this group is definitely something excited about. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Amen to that. And as you know, we're missing our city administrator. She is at the Mayo Clinic doing with some health issues. As Misty stated today, we are learning very quickly how valuable Kim is and how much she does do around the office. And so please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. A couple of things that I just want to bring before the council. It looks like there has been no civilian firms that have offered to take over the airport fueling system. So we're putting together a package to ensure that we can maintain our fuel service at the airport. And the city has a first option to purchase that with there being no commercial interest. We've gotten an appraisal. We'll be reviewing the financials. The current owners have been very forthright in sharing their financials with us, inspection reports, and we'll be putting a package together. It will be referred to Admin Finance for review, along with the Airport Advisory Committee, and that will be coming before this council either the first or second meeting in June. Again, it's something that hopefully will be able to make the airport money while we own it, but we certainly will also be open to allowing a private enterprise to take that system over if that should be, if there should be interest in that. The other thing, I've been gathering information. As Bob mentioned, we had an excellent meeting with South Dakota DOT concerning the road construction. I was unable to attend that, but did get the minutes today from South Dakota DOT. I had an opportunity to sit down with our city administrator and our finance officer, Kim and Misty, to talk about looking at possible financing options, excuse me, of how much money we would have available if we are required to match any kind of state government funds that would be made available to us. I asked a certified safety professional to provide a statement of why the design is needed along River Street to provide safer and wider traffic lanes. That has been documented in a letter, and using an approved safety analysis process that we can take to the state and show them that we've done our homework, that this is truly a safety need, as opposed to just us wanting wider traffic lanes. South Dakota DOT brags about one of their primary guidelines in design is safety, and so we'll present them an opportunity to provide us with a safer highway reconstruction, and hopefully the dollars to make that happen. Again, there has been no approval. I'll be hopefully going to, my plan is to go to Pierre and talk to the governor's policy advisor face to face so that we can go through the entire process and find out what we need to do, what they need to do, and obviously those decisions will be made at a later date, referred through the appropriate committees, public safety, public works, admin, finance, and brought to the council for final approval before anything is decided upon or any agreements are signed and made. But I just wanted to let you know that we are working on that, and we did get the final estimate for the engineering costs from ISG, and I'm reviewing those at this time. One final thing, I just want to mention that Memorial Day is coming up, and I do have the honor to be able to speak at our state veterans home at one of their ceremonies. As you know, Memorial Day commemorates those who died to maintain our lifestyle, our culture, our freedoms here in America. And I think it's very important that we as a community pause and say and honor that. We have become a place of healing, not only to veterans, but I think to all who come here sense that in our community, that spirit in our community. And we honor those who served, and we honor those who were left behind that served to keep our country going while men and women were fighting our battles, and those are important too. Not only the families, but the communities that keep the businesses open, the teachers that keep teaching school students. and so forth. And so with that in mind, I would ask that we just remember Memorial Day and the sacrifices that many have made to make this country and our community great. With that said, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded, we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.